This is TWiT.
And I meant to put these two stories together in the rundown, and I somehow screwed this up. I'm fascinated by auto-driving cars. Two stories of different views. One is that, and I think we might have mentioned this last week, I can't remember, that a driver was charged.
Yes, we did.
Right. But then tie that in, a British law group now recommends immunity for drivers of self-driving cars.
I think I said this when we talked about the story last week. The guy who was charged with, I think, vehicular manslaughter was using Tesla's self-driving. And this was some years ago that he did this. And it went through a red light and killed a couple of pedestrians. But at the time he was using it, it never, even though Tesla said it's full self-driving, it didn't stop at lights. When the whole time I had my Model X, it wasn't supposed to stop at lights or stop signs or anything else. The mistake, I mean, if Tesla's to blame, it's by calling it full self-driving.
Right.
It should be really, driver assist or, because on the highway, it's great. Where there's no stoplights, it's great. And my Ford does the same thing. My Mustang does the same thing. But I would never take it on a city street because it wouldn't stop. So I think he's right to charge this guy. He was misusing the product, but Tesla does bear some culpability, I think. Oh, now they're saying he wasn't using full self-driving. It wasn't full self-driving it wasn't full self-driving. It was Tesla called it autopilot in those days.
Yeah.
But that still implies that something's, going to stop, doesn't it?
Yeah, Tesla really oversells what they're doing there.
I apologize. Not full self-driving. That's what Tesla's doing now, and it does stop, theoretically, at stoplights. So that's the bigger question and this guy is saying indemnity. The bigger question is, if you trust what full self-driving, that claims to be full self-driving, and it isn't, and it does something stupid, are you liable or is it liable? That's an interesting question.
Right. So the Brits, and here's my my moral panic analysis of this, is that they love trying to blame technology for everything. So, and so I ruined my own punchline there. But
should I get
it's their reflex to say, let's blame the technology company and make the driver blameless. Well, no, there's got to be some shared blame here in terms of if you have the ability to override, you see something going on, you're still responsible. It's your car. And for the Brits to come on and recommend, the law commissions, multiple, to recommend that drivers should not face regulatory and legal sanctions if something goes wrong. Okay, there's liability on the software that screws up, but there should be on the driver as well. And this is a really odd thing to come out with.
Well, it depends on how we view self-driving. If I'm especially because the auto industry is pitching level 5 self-driving as something that won't even have a steering wheel, right? We're all just hanging out, eating popcorn.
Then you're not
you
liable.
Don't have the option.
Clearly not liable.
Like upload on Amazon.
But
agreed.
So I feel like, and people are people. And this is why Tesla, I have so much ire for them for the way they've pitched autopilot, because people, if you give them the opportunity not to pay attention,
that's the concern.
Pay attention.
They're going to take a nap.
Do we say that's okay, or do we say no?
No,
you're
not
still
okay.
responsible.
That's why that guy should be charged.
That's why the Brits are saying it is unrealistic to expect someone who is not paying attention to the road to deal with, for example, a tire blowout. TYRE. I love it when they do that.
So pay
or
attention.
A closed road sign. So Stacey,
but what they're saying is they're putting this
realistic
there because then the automotive people have to be much more realistic about what they're promising, I think. If they're saying, look, the blame is not going to be on consumers, it's going to be on you guys, then they can't go to the consumers and sell them something that isn't actually
okay. I think on the sales side, you're right. And the marketing
here's what
side,
here's what Pete Buttigieg says. He's the Secretary of Transportation. He told The Verge this. I keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. Anything on the market today that you can buy is a driver assistance technology, not a driver replacement technology. I don't care what it's called. We need to make sure that we're crystal clear about that, even if companies are not. And actually, this is part of an article from The Verge talking about how the self-driving car industry is abandoning the term self-driving. They don't want to use it anymore. Waymo, Ford, Lyft, Uber, and Volvo are saying we're not going to use. The problem is Tesla's going to keep using it. And there's some concern that they'll kind of let Tesla own that market, even if it's just a marketing term.
But if Tesla is legally liable, then they might start.
Maybe they'll
either stop selling it that way, or they'll actually deliver real high quality stuff because they don't want to be, and they can't right now because it's not.
It's really up to. And I'm trying to remember if it's the NTSB or NHTSA, but it's up to whatever that the federal. There is one of those two federal agencies. I think it's NHTSA that says what is full self-driving, what's not. It's up to them to say that you can't use that term. They could do that, by the way. But federal regulation doesn't require law.
Well, but that's like level 5. That's not like normal language. So like level 5 is us sitting in our car as a living room. Level 4 is everything up to level 4 is driver assistant.
But there's no such thing as level 5 right now.
Right.
And so to call it level 5 and imply full self-driving is level 5.
But Tesla doesn't call it level 5. They call it autopilot.
No, they call it full self-driving, FSD. That's what they're selling.
Okay,
today.
yeah, but they don't call it quote unquote level 5, which is the actual words.
Okay, but doesn't full self-driving imply level 5?
If it's synonymous.
I would argue that, but a lawyer can get away saying, right. I mean, that's the issue. So you've got to really like.
Waymo, several years ago, this is from the Verge article, Waymo considered developing an advanced driver assist system like Tesla's full self-driving version of autopilot, but ultimately decided against it, having become alarmed by the negative effects on the driver. Drivers would zone out or fall asleep at the wheel.
Is there something in the bill of sales that's like fine print that says, hey, you still need to be alert when engaging these? They said it.
They have it. Do they still have the thing on the drivers? So you have to touch the steering wheel every now and then? Is that still a thing?
This is what's really interesting. I can't remember what somebody in the chat room will tell us. We don't have FS3 Teslas, but on the autopilot, you had to torque the wheel a little bit. Ford, GM, and others are coming out with their new self-driving where you don't have to have your hands on the wheel, but in all those cases, there's a camera that's watching your eyes to see that you're paying attention, that you're there. And I don't believe Tesla's doing that, so I'm not sure how Tesla's verifying that the driver's there.
Let's say they're not doing that.
That's
even in the signing of the contract that you allegedly read your contract and it says, hey, once I engage this, I am responsible for paying attention.
They pop up things on they tell you. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's enough to put it in the contract or the owner's manual. You got to pop it up on the screen, but they can do that.
This gets to a problem we have, which is we're making driving more boring by doing this. This little mid-level where like highway driving is relaxed with like a Tesla and highway. I've rented cars that have this and it's fine. But like as a person who I need to be like really stimulated when I'm doing anything to keep paying attention to it. So it is a real problem for me to actually zone out. It's much easier for me to zone out if I'm in a half self-driving thing. So I get it. I think it's a really dangerous time to be driving cars.
Here's what Tesla says right now. Autopilot and full self-driving capability are intended for use with a fully attentive driver who has their hands on the wheel and is prepared to take over at any moment. While these features are designed to become more capable over time, the currently enabled features do not make the vehicle autonomous. So that
documentation doesn't cover them legally from a liability standpoint?
I don't know.
It's not in the UK.
I mean, it says it right there.
If you're ever going to want to regulate technology, this is the one to regulate. This is the one to set guidelines into about.
People. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm amazed.
I don't know if you have to touch the wheel or not. Does anybody have a FSD Tesla in the chat room? I'm curious. I get the sense that you do, but I don't know. I guess nobody we know has an FSD.
Not seeing any answers.
Yeah, nobody we know has an FSD.
Retcon 5 has it in the Discord.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, take a look.
Nobody trusts Retcon.
Yeah, here he is driving his car.
That's the automated driving.
Nobody trusts Retcon 5.
There's the system right there.
Right there. Dog tired. Good night. I don't know. I would hope there's some sort of mechanism. There is in the GM and Ford's Blue Cruise and GM's something Cruise. There's a camera.
Yeah, I would hope that too, but I'm just thinking about our legal system and loopholes and all of that stuff. And if Tesla can just put something in writing just like that says, hey, make sure you're doing the right thing when you're engaging this.
We warned you.
Out of Sync says Tesla uses the interior camera for FSD beta to watch the drivers and will turn off FSD if they catch you not paying attention. They have to catch you.
Oh, well, there you go.
You have to earn FSD, at least right now. You have to have a good driving record. You have to drive perfectly and all that stuff. And the other thing is both GM and Ford they won't do it on city streets. They'll only do it on streets they've mapped out, highways.
Yeah.
How do you know then? Does it like a little light come on saying you can use it now, or it goes off you can't?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what's fascinating? I'm just going to throw this out here because it was in one of the short stories that I read in that book that I read about like AI in the future.
Yeah.
And this actually does happen already with automated ferries. So we'll throw that out there too. One of the premises was that for self-driving vehicles, when they hit weird situations, they automatically go to a remote person driver. So like a remote drone driver, right?
Yeah. We talked about that, right? Did we? Oh, no, that was on TWiT. That was the one where it's like a video game. And,
it was kind of like, the kids, in some cases, it was actual kids doing a video game. So the car had the ability to recognize when it no longer could handle a situation. It would flip over to a remote control operator. So then the person driving the car still doesn't have to pay attention, but we don't have to plan for every externality, which would be impossible.
Yeah, they showed this at CES, the Halo, HALO self-driving car. And if the Halo gets confused, like, I don't know what's going on, a remote driver can take over, which is kind of cool. We talked about that on TWiT, halo.car, the electric car that drives to you, but there's a human driving it.
And there's a company called Einride that's doing it for trucks in Norway. And then there's another company that's doing some ferries up there where everything's remote controlled until it isn't. And then I
told you I could make a living playing video games. I told you, Mom.